Mixing the past with the present, but still keeping some of the history alive, is at the heart of urban renewal. The bones of this apartment building still remain, but it's acquired a fresh new twist.
The building was built in the 1950s. At the time it was built, it was in the middle of a suburb surrounded by houses and parks. As the years have gone by, so development has increased in the area. The building finds itself now in different circumstances, and for that reason we decided to redevelop the building.
It's always been a good building. It's been an honest building, a building of its time. But as happens, buildings age and one tends to just do basic maintenance and really just keep things moving as opposed to modernizing and changing. It just seemed to be the right opportunity to get more involved and just do a complete makeover.
I think heritage is important. I enjoy the idea of the history of things, not demolishing and starting again. So it was important to keep the building, to keep the history. Also, I think it's very important to have mixed-use development, where there's residential and commercial, that combine successfully, where people live and work in the same environment. So that's the reason why we really wanted to keep the apartments.
The interior is defined by the African contemporary style and reflects a combination of heritage and up-to-date interior design.
We've used contemporary art, which are a conversation for young people that's engaging art. We've tried to include elements of Africa in it. We've tried to include pots, basketry, cloth, textiles. You'll see in the bedroom beautiful kente cloth. We wanted to acknowledge the Basotho blanket.
It's not what I call white box architecture, where you walk into a space which has got white shiny tiles on the floor and it's sparse and minimalist and there's nothing in it, and the less you put in it, the better. I think this is about spaces that you live in, spaces where you value the elements and textures of things around you, and everything contributes and adds in a very eclectic way. It's not just some of the African art, it's the African art with a contemporary piece of European modernist furniture. And I think that mix that keeps teasing and asking questions, that adds to the richness and keeps saying, how does everything really fit together? And that's how I think we all live today, is we just surround ourselves with things that we like.
Eclectic is the word. It's a mixture of things. But hopefully the highlights are African.
Alan tells us about some of the considerations that make this space practical and comfortable.
The building is to a large extent soundproof, and all the noise of the surrounding streets have been cut out, and he's increased the amount of light, the amount of space that's available, and I think in that way he's helped to make incredible spaces. We increased all the infrastructure and modernized it so that we are much more energy efficient. We threw out the electrical geysers, which we thought were not efficient, and we're using gas. And we have rewired the building so that there's a fiber cable and TV antennas that are all within the building, and everything is practical.
We were thinking of putting a very dark glass onto the Caller Drive facade, almost this sort of mirror aesthetic. And we had a long chat about that, and I said, no, people have got to look into the building. You've got to have transparency. You've got to look in and look out. It's all about that connection with the street. There's great value in refurbishing buildings, and it should always be looked at as your primary objective if it's at all possible. If it's within one's objectives and you can get or attain the yield that you're looking for out of the building without demolishing it and putting up something else, I think it's critical for us to actually start thinking more like that, as opposed to doing away with the old and putting up something new. I think on top of that is this model, as Alan has referred to, of the apartments with the retail below, is how we all want to live. It's tried and tested, and it was a great mix, and what we needed to do is just improve it where we could.